Right then, I've got 2 whole days off. Oh, look at the mess in here. And so, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the new and improved Rusty Mettle. Mrs. Mettle said, it's no wonder you haven't got any subscribers because you look like a tramp. So, I have got a new old coat, you'll notice, no rip under the arms. I've washed my hat, which hasn't come very clean. Also washed my overalls, which also haven't come very clean. And I'm wearing a tie, which is of course a tribute to Wallace and Gromit. Smashing. Right, let's get that lot sorted out, get some music on. This one's going to be a bit more of a challenge.
What are you snickering, fluff? Should be there for bungling in which you are best. Souls.
Well, there we go, that's a thing of beauty. Everything tidied, I've even had all of that lot out, cleaned it, swept all the floor, and I've even, this bench that had tons of stuff piled on it, everything's been out, swept it, cleaned it, tidied it, place for everything, and everything in its place. Right then, the workshop's all nice and tidy. That really did need doing, but it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon now. Should we have a look at the starter on this thing? Right, Land Rover starter motors, they're not really much fun. Here's the wing, it's way down there, and then you've got a nut and bolt here. So you can't even see it, it's way down in there, and you've got another nut and bolt here. And it's very heavy. Now if I lie on my back underneath it, it's even less fun. There's one there, and that's the other one we could see from the top. I'll tell you how I know they're heavy, because I've got one in this box here which I bought for a project years ago and I never used it, and I've got a feeling it's exactly the same model as that one that's on this. But before we go fitting brand new parts, let's test that one and see if is it a bad earth or something like that. Let's have a look at it. Right, first of all, let's have a look at this battery. So this has been stood here for quite a few days a week I think now, and that battery is still at 12.6 volts, so that's good and healthy. Now someone was asking me about batteries, and so this is what we've got in here. 12 volts, it's 90 amp hours and 700 amps. So your 700 amps this is a good battery for this vehicle. This is a diesel vehicle. So the 700 amps, that is how much oomph it's got when you turn the ignition on for the starter motor. The 90 amp hours, now you can go up to 120 amp hours, I have done in the past, but the amp hours is basically, it's like the size of your petrol tank. It's how much of that oomph it's got, how long it can keep it going for. If you go too high on your amp hours, then once you've emptied it, the alternator takes much longer to fill it up. So this kind of 1995 with 700 amps, that's what you're looking for your diesel Land Rover. Now another feature you might have is this that they call the magic eye, and I think you can just make out that that's green. See if does that help? Anyway, that needs to be green. If it's not green, it'll be black. So if it's black, charge it up. If it goes green, that's okay, it just needed charging. And if you can see this little red cross, that's it, it's had it. So that's the magic eye. Now if we go back to this This is the cold crank ampage, 700 amps. So we can't really test that with the equipment we've got, but there is a test you can do. So connect up your multimeter as if you're testing for voltage. Then go inside, turn the ignition on, and as the engine turns over, if the voltage stays above 10, then you're fine, that's all well and good. But if the voltage drops below 9 volts, that's it, you've had it, change your battery. Now battery life is 4 years, so if you haven't changed your battery for 4 years, you should be thinking about doing that. I've got no idea how old this battery is, and that's why I'm kind of suspecting whether it's the battery or not. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start following the voltage from here, and let's see if there's a failure anywhere in the line. Okay, so originally, when the first time I did this a few times, I got like a rumbling noise, which to anyone who's played with old cars, that sounded like low battery. It wasn't engaging on the flywheel. Ooh, now I've got absolutely nothing. So I've got to investigate that. Yeah, I got to show you this. So this is that's the make Cargo. This is the difference. This one is made in Germany, so it comes in a cardboard box, then it's in polystyrene, and then it's greased up in a bag, whereas a Chinese one would come in bubble wrap, wouldn't it? Quality, sir. Alright, I might as well show you this while I've got it out. We'll start at this end. This is the business end. So it sits in your engine. It's sat down there, orientated like that. This end here is going what looks like into the bell housing on the gearbox direction. And this is facing forwards where I am. So this is the actual business end. So your flywheel is sat in line about here. When you put power to this, that comes forwards, engages on the flywheel, which is in line with this, and turns the flywheel. And then when you switch off the start, your ignition, it then drops back to here. So that's how that works. And what we've got on ours is that this is only coming out about this much, and it's just catching on the teeth of the flywheel. That was the original noise, which sounds something like this. Okay, so we're sat like that in the vehicle. So I'm going to talk about this here is your starter solenoid, and that is a switch. Now, if you look at your starter motor and it hasn't got one of them, then your starter solenoid is going to look something like this, and it will be elsewhere. It'll be bolted somewhere inside the bodywork. Just look for it, follow the wires. Okay, so on these ones, the starter solenoid is on there. Now, the solenoid can fail, and you can actually unbolt these and put a new one on if that's gone. So what's the solenoid for? Well, this starter motor requires a lot of power to turn over that engine, especially when it's cold and the oil is thick. So if you can see the big fat wire coming off the battery there, the one with the red leads on it, if you follow that, your positive from your battery should come all the way around and connect directly to this big connector here on the top of the starter solenoid. And then if you follow where that goes next, you can see you're coming into there, it's going through that starter solenoid, and then look at the size of this connection. So that is the power is now coming through, and that is the positive into your starter motor. So why do we need a starter solenoid? Well, as you can see, that great big fat wire there that's required to take the current through into this motor, if you didn't have this, then that wire would have to go to your ignition switch and come back, which is pretty inconvenient trying to wire something that fat up to the back of your ignition barrel. And so they bring it to here, and what they do is you have the switch is here. So this takes the little wires from the ignition. When you switch it on, it then makes the connection between these two heavy contacts inside here. So this switch is magnetic, and it basically it drops down a lever and it makes a contact and allows that electricity to run through from that thick wire. It allows it to run straight through all the way down into the motor. Okay, so how do we test whether the solenoid has gone? Remember, the solenoid, it's just a switch. So in there, the switch is off until you tell it by turning on the key to open up. But that heavy power comes in through here and it's sat waiting. That switch is switched off. When you switch the switch on with the ignition, it then makes the connection through to this connector here. So it stands to reason, if you want to test straight through, put a screwdriver between the two of them and you've now bypassed the solenoid altogether. You are going straight from that full power coming from the battery to here. You're using this screwdriver to jump it across onto that big fat connection there and into the starter motor. So you don't need to turn the ignition on or anything because the power from the battery comes straight to here. So what you're doing is you're bypassing that. Stick your screwdriver in there. If your starter motor jumps and turns, then it seems to be that it could be your solenoid that's gone wrong. And if you look in my playlist, you'll find me starting a lawnmower by the same method. All right, so let's have a go at that. So that's what we're looking. Can you see that one there and that one there? This is the solenoid we were looking at. So don't touch anything else, but you want to put these two together. So I'm sliding down from the top one to touch the bottom one. Oh ho ho! And there we go. We've got something happening. Not enough though, is it? Oh, doesn't like it. It's stuck again. Okay, let's get that out of the way. Right, now we can see what's happening. So I'll turn the ignition now, see if we get anything now. Okay, nothing. Okay, we're going to have a little mess around here just because we can. So this is your solenoid switch. So you would have the big fat cable from your positive off the battery comes into here, goes through there. This wire now, there's another connection on there and that's the one that goes round to your ignition switch on the dashboard. So that's a positive. Now what I've done here, this would normally be earthed when it's bolted to the rest of the engine, that it's earthed through that way. So what I've done is with my house cable, I've put an earth on the back end here and I put a positive onto that positive connection there. Now the other end of the earth runs down to the earth terminal on the battery, and then I've got this one, the positive one, free. I'm just going to touch it on the positive on the battery now and let's see what happens. Okay, I'm just going to roll this over now so you can see what's happening. So here's the starter solenoid and that's the positive wire that will be coming in from your ignition to the starter solenoid. Now if I turn it over, it's good. Don't want it shorting out on the wing. And turn it over. Remember, this is the part that I said shoots out when you turn the ignition. So keep an eye on that. I'm going to touch the positive again, and you can see what happens. That shoots out. Now we've only got these very thin little wires on there, so obviously it's not going to spin round as well. But you can see, so that would come out and it would spin if it was on full power. Are we having fun yet? Right. So we've got a starter motor that works. Okay. We've got a battery that works. Okay. But we're not getting anything from the ignition. So originally we had a brr, brr, you know, it was trying to go but not, and now we get nothing, absolutely nothing whatsoever from the ignition. So now, is the solenoid gone or is there a bad connection from here to the ignition? So what we could do now is test the same test that I just did on this over there on the other wing. We could do that same thing to this now whilst it's on the vehicle and see if anything happens to that. Wire it straight up to the battery. Now I've disconnected the wire that comes from the ignition onto that starter solenoid, and I've connected the other end of my piece of house cable. I've connected the positive side. So now when I touch the battery on the positive, we should get the same result that we did with the brand new one when it was sat on the wing. And I'm not getting anything. Nothing at all. Zero nada. Right. Now this contact down here was pretty corroded, so I've connected it permanently onto the positive on the battery. I'm going to give this end a wiggle and just see, is it a bad connection, why it's not going. Well, that was pretty unimpressive, wasn't it? So on the face of it, it looks like it's actually the solenoid that's gone, because when we went directly across the contacts into the starter motor itself, it turned. So we put power to the starter solenoid and it hasn't done anything, but it's just worth having a check. This is the positive that comes from the ignition key. So let's just test that. So I'm using my multimeter now. I've got an earth connection over there onto the battery, and then at this end, that's the wire that comes from the ignition, and I've got the live stuck into there. So we've got a bit of a reading there of 0.26, but whatever. What I'll do now is go around, turn on the ignition, and let's see, we should get 12 volts showing there. Right, that's the ignition on, and we've got 13.2 volts showing. So there's nothing wrong with the ignition switch. So I think we just narrowed it down to that solenoid. Okay, so there's good news and there's bad news. The good news is we found the problem. Bad news is it's not a very nice thing to fix. Now I have got here a starter solenoid, new old stock. I bought this for a project some time back and never used it. It's quite tricky to change this over on the vehicle. I could do that, or am I better to just put that new one on complete, then when I've got the old one off on the bench, I can then fit this in and test it, see if it works. Okay, I've had a chat with the music department and they've said they're happy to carry on playing all night if need be. So I'm going to carry on and put that new starter motor on. First of all, we need to disconnect the battery. Okay, the first thing you're going to disconnect is this red one that's on its own, and that's the one that comes from the ignition. And then you've got the next connection, you've got 3 wires going to it, and that's the positive. So you've got the big fat one, this should be red, it's a red positive cable coming from the battery. Then that is the takeoff to the rest of the vehicle, so all the power that goes to the rest of the vehicle comes through there. All your lights, ignition, everything else works off that. And then the third wire that comes in is the one that comes from the alternator. So as your alternator's charging, it's putting that charge straight through there. There's another one comes off your alternator. There's a little, this is yellow on this one, and that's the one that switches off when your engine starts running and the little red light goes off on your dashboard. That's the one that works that. So let's get a spanner on there. One, that's the power from the battery. 2, that's the power that goes to power up all your lights and everything. And 3, that's the one that comes from your alternator. So that's it now, it's disconnected. Just got to do undo those 3 bolts, disconnect it from the engine. So I don't forget where they go, or I don't forget to put one of them back on. I'm just going to stick a nut and bolt through them, and then they'll be together just like that. Okay, the first one I'm going to do this. So from the front you'd be looking, that's the top left hand one, and that one is actually threaded through into the clutch housing. So that one has got to be undone from the top up here. It's really hard to get to. Now we're having fun. So a 15mm is too small, and the 16mm, it's a bit sloppy, and if that's rusted in, that bolt, you'll probably round the head off and then you'll be very unhappy. But look at that, I mean, they're just, what is it? Well, I'll tell you what it is. It's a 5/8, and not only have I got a 5/8, but look at this antique contraption I picked up. Well, that's one of those, I'll bet you're all jealous, special Land Rover tool for getting your starter motor off. Gotcha. It's still a nightmare because you've got to wind the last bit out by hand, and you just cannot get your hand in there. And by the way, you can't get a socket on it either. So you might, to get it started, use, that's a crow's foot spanner. So you can get one of them in, and you could maybe get some leverage on it to get it started if you can't get a spanner in the first place. Good luck. Okay, I'm on the top one that's closest to me. It would be top right if you were looking that way, and I'm being punished for being smug. This is a nut and bolt straight through. Maybe the thread stripped at some stage and they put a bolt through it, but this is an 18, and you need a long bar like that with a socket, and that one's on the nut at the back. Dope. Gotcha. I just made a cup of tea. Look how cold it is in here. I wish it was one of those people that could just look at a nut and they'd know what size it was. I've only had to undo 2 of them, and look at the amount of spanners I've got out of here. Right, let's get this cleared off, get it up in the air. I think there's only one more left to do underneath. Okay, and that there should be the last one, but it is a nut and the bolt again. So if we're lucky, the nut will come undone and the bolt won't spin. Oh, it doesn't want to. That's not nice at all. That is absolutely rock solid. We need a plan. Okay. Gotcha. I like the feel of that. Feels like it's spinning at the back. Oh, it's not. What a fiddle. Now the trouble is that this now is going to fall on my head, isn't it? So this is the last bolt. Yeah, I can see it dropping. We need another plan now. It's heavy, that thing. Oh. Right. I need to hold it up there somehow. I'm going to take that out. Right, I'm just going to try holding it, but because this is a nut and bolt, I've got a feeling that bolt is going to start spinning. Right, oh, but because it's under tension, maybe the pressure of the thing on it will... oh, this might work. Oh, okay, the nut's off. Alright, that's it. I've got to keep going forwards. Okay, it's sort of out. Right, there it is. I'm using my best skill and judgment. I don't think it's going to come out of that hole. I think it's got to come out from the top. Right, well, it's not going to be easy from here. That looks like it's in the way. And it's heavy. So, oh well. I think it's got to come up and forwards. Oh! Get off. Oh! It's gone back down. Ouch! No, it's getting caught on that wire. Let's have another go. Ooh, here we go. So far, so good. Oh, it's coming. It's coming. Way. Congratulations, Mrs. Land Rover. It's a boy. Now then, just because I'm the kind of guy I am, let's give it a test and make sure we diagnose correctly. There you go. Nada. Nothing. Okay, so that was the fault. Right, I've had a good look at the two of them and everything looks the same. I mean, this is the most important bit, will that fit? But they do look the same. There's a bit of a difference on this back end. The cover shape here is different to that one, and this one seems to have an extra earth connection on it. You can never have too many earth connections. So that's it for now. Cold in here. I'm going inside and I'll come back in the morning. Wowee, it's a cold one. Well, you wouldn't want to have to get in that and go to work, would you? Brr. Everything's frozen solid. It's going to be cold in that garage. Okay, I'm warm, I've got motivational music. Let's get this starter fitted. Right, I've got it in position, but it's falling down like that. So I'm going to lift it up, shove this screwdriver into that top hole, and that should hold it. Give me time to get some nuts and bolts in. Right, that's the first bolt in. It's got two more to do. This is that awkward one, top left-hand corner, and I just cannot get it started. It threads into the clutch housing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a slot down it, and then I'll be able to get a screwdriver on it to get it started. That's the top two, they're tightened up, finger tight. I can still wobble it. I've just got the bottom one to do now. Right, I've just got to tighten these two up, put the electrical connections back on, and then let's give it a whirl. Right, that's everything connected at this end. Let's connect the battery, turn the key. Okay, ignition. Whoa. I really am suspecting this battery now. I'm going to find another battery and put it on. Actually, let's just try this voltage drop thing when I'm cranking the engine. Keep an eye on that. If it goes below 9, the battery's had it. Ho ho ho! There it did. 8.9. That proves that works. Now there's another little thing I forgot to tell you about this magic eye. That magic eye, there's different cells in here. That magic eye only works on one of them. So it's only actually telling you the health of that one. I mean, it's a good guide, but as you've just seen, it's not definitive and it's not perfect. Okay, let's give it another whirl. Yeehaw! Okay, we have action. Okay, so that's the battery off KTB. I've done the voltage drop test and it's going down to 10. It just touched under the 10 a bit, but that looks okay. But it's been sat out there, it's freezing cold. So I've just put it on the charger. I'll go and have a cup of tea, come back, and then we'll give it another whirl. Okay, what I'm doing now is I'm testing to make sure the starter motor is well earthed. So I've got the earth connected to the main earth battery lead there. I've got a 1 showing here. And now I'm going to just on the body of don't touch any of the electrical connections, just on the body of it. So that's on the back end. Remember it had that extra earth connection on it? Well, I haven't used that and I don't need it. That's a perfect. There you go, continuity. I'm going to try it at the front of it. Well, there you are. That's fine. It's well earthed. Now, somebody was asking me about this little thing. I use this to tighten up Jubilee clips. I use it for quite a few things. Basically, it's a cordless screwdriver. It's a Makita. And there's the TD020D. Now, I've had this for about 20 years, so I don't know if you can still get them. So you basically, it just is cordless screwdriver fitting. But then if you buy a little set of these, which you've got, if you can get one out, and they just pop in like that, and then you can use it for undoing and doing up bolts. It's a cracking little thing. Came with a charger, 2 of these little batteries, and I left this for 18 months once with a charged battery in it, and I carried on using that battery. They do not lose the charge. They're absolutely brilliant. So it's 7.2 volts. So that's what that is, Makita. So while we're still waiting, I showed you how to find my playlists on the iPad, but the majority of you are watching on the television. So here's the instructions, how to find a playlist and where to subscribe when you're watching on television. First of all, find Rusty Mettle by searching. Here he comes up. Click on that. So here you can see that icon, click on that one. That takes you to a home page, but it's not the home page. So now go down to one of the videos and click on it. And then using the scroll button, scroll downwards. And this brings up the bar at the bottom. And you have here description. Currently the cursor is there. This is how you click like. And over here you see description. That's the one you're going for. Click on that. And then that brings you to here. Top right hand corner you can see that rusty metal there. Click on that. And now you have the choice of go to channel. Scroll down to that. And now you're on the channel. So this is the videos, shorts, and the playlist is what you're looking for. So scroll sideways through those until you come to Land Rover Restoration Series. Click on that. And now all of the videos in this entire series, 69 of them I think, are here in date order. So if you scroll to the very bottom, you'll get the oldest one, the first one I did, and then at the top, you'll find the newest. And you can click on here, play all, so start at the bottom and it'll play through them. So that's your injector there. The thing below it with the wire coming out of it, that is your glow plug. So when you put power into them, they glow red hot on the end and it warms up the cylinder to give the diesel a bit of a help when you're on cold start. So I'm going to take the temperature of this now, 8.6, and then I'm going to go inside, press the button and start putting heat into these glow plugs. Okay, I've followed all the wires and this thing here used to be, oh look at that, the push start button before it had an ignition turn on like that. This just turned on the power and then you would press that, that would start the petrol engine. So can you see that little orange light coming on? That's telling me there's power going through to those glow plugs. So I'm going to hold that on there for a little while now. Give it time. Remember, nothing's happened to this poor thing for 3 years. And then once I've done that for a while, I'll go around and I'll take the temperature of all of them again and we'll see if they're all working. There you go, 10.2 degrees, so it's gone up. So what I'll do now is go along, test the temperatures of all the other ones, and then I'll know if they're all working or not. 11.8, 11.1, 10.3, and that one's 10. All right then, that's full. Let's give it a whirl. Now there's a clear pipe here on the fuel. It sort of looks like it's got fuel in it, so let's be hopeful with that. Giving it a bit more glow. Let's give it a whirl. Ooh, that's better. Still not good. Still not right. Still not right. Nothing sounds like a diesel. See the diesel moving in there now. 3-year-old diesel. And she's running sweet as a sewing machine. Very loud sewing machine, but fantastic. Got that connected up to the battery now, it's running. Alternator's working okay. Fuel gauge. Yeah, we've got fuel gauge. The temperature gauge is working, there's nothing happening. Right, somewhere there's got to be a stop switch to switch it off. What's that? That one? Doesn't do anything. How do we turn it off? No, let's try that. No, that didn't work either. Right, that big switch there, that's the glow plug switch. Next to it is that choke lever thing, which has got a wire which comes here, points it there, comes around, comes back out of here, and it lands here. And it's supposed to pull something. There we go, I found it. And there it is down there. Let's get another whirl, see if it'll start again. For those of you who don't know anything about diesels, that rattle and knock, that is exactly what it should sound like. And they all sound the same, these diesel 2.25s, you can recognise it from miles away. Brilliant engine, built to last. Happy days. Happy days. All I can say is if that's how it runs on 3-year-old diesel, imagine how good it's going to be when you put some fresh stuff in it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.